the legacy, it's the faith, it's the history, unerased, of a sisterhood, of a race. It's the strength for me, it's the strength, it's the legacy, it's the faith, it's the history, unerased, of a sisterhood, of a race. My shoes, listen to my blues. I stand before you, resilient, stronger than power, soft as a flower. I know the hour, I am the times. It's the strength for me, it's the strength, it's the legacy.
'Tis the season. Hello, I'm your host for Unerased Recorded Live, Gwen McKinney, and the creator of Unerased Black Women Speak. This is a holiday season, and as we approach 2024, we are thrilled that our last show of the year is dedicated to joy, to the word. And with that, we'd like to share poets, comics, and joy mongers. We're looking very forward to 2024 and the idea that even in the face of calamity and challenges, we can find joy. So hang for us in this show. We're going to start out with a just amazing poet, Sister Lisa Mohammed. And throughout our show, you'll hear other poetry, comedy, and maybe something that will lift you up and make you feel the light and love that we are sharing tonight. Thanks for watching.
I am Sister Lisa A. Muhammad, and my poem is entitled Nature Journey. This piece captures a moment in time when, while gazing at the power and beauty of God's creation, I had an experience mentally that took me to a place of revisitation of who's and who we are. And so this reflective poem invites our people back to the origin of what we're destined to be and become. And I hope our pushing through the pain, taking this journey, and honoring this invitation brings each and every one of us the imminent result, which is joy. Nature Journey. Come follow us through every line and every verse, where there's no need to curse or rehearse, where it doesn't matter who's first, to where Mother Nature and Father Time bear the seeds of the universe. Come with us to where the earth is golden, bronze, deep, deep brown, and sable. Come, if we're able, to where each blade of grass has a dance of its own, where souls are grown. To the magnificent plains, where plain is magnificent. All is God sent. Come with us, where the wind whistles a tune to the moon, and the moon gleams boldly in our dreams. See the streams that flow endlessly across the land. Take our hands and let's run in the sparkling sand. Where the rocks and stones glisten, where the air listens to every thought we make, where everything is awake, nothing is shallow or fake, where our free body shakes as our feelings ripple across the lake. Come to where justice is in power and a whole new world is ours, where new mountains rise like righteous towers, where the mahogany trees in the cool breeze reach out into infinite space, where the morning dew kisses our face, the mist feels our embrace. Life runs an endless race. Come with us to this place, where the waters are untroubled as they bubble with the breath of life, free from strife, where schools of fish absorb the waves of wisdom through their gills, where all is still yet alive with will, where the universe is the university and unity respects diversity, where we benefit from God's mercy free from controversy. Come with us to the hills, to the horizon, where the soft silhouettes of the clouds greet the mountaintops, where growth never stops, where cleansing clarity sparkles in each refreshing raindrop, where everything is real, where it's safe to feel, where nature has ultimate power to heal. Come with us where the birds sweetly sing as they spread their wings, where truth exists in all things. Come home, where the trees stand strong and tall like the Creator's soldiers, God's infant trees lined up side by side with deep roots, styled stems, braided branches, evergreen afros, and multicolored locks. Leaves like hair growing naturally waving in the air. Come if we dare to where everything shares and cares. Where the four-legged creatures engage and call in response, each tribe speaking their native tongue. Where human beings are no longer tribes, we've united our languages, spirits, and vibes. Come where all is one, where variety is good, never misunderstood. Where the young look after the elders look after the young. Come where Mother Earth and her bright sun work together to sustain life, maintain order, gain peace. Where land has no lease, where materialisms cease, iniquities decrease, moralities increase, and the light of truth rises not only in the east. Where all try to withstand the test, so that truth can and will rise in the west. Acknowledge his request, wisdom will manifest, and understanding will leave us all blessed. Come, where God reigns supreme, and love is reality, not a distant dream. Don't be afraid. Step out of the shade, step away from the man-made, leap into the Everglades. Come, where the sun shines warm on our skin, where nothing ends and where everything begins. Yes, come with us, where the deep, dark, ebony sky radiates with a million piercing lights, twinkles with billions of diamonds on a blue-black velvety comforter, listens with a trillion attentive ears, looks on with a zillion watchful eyes of 6 sextillion royal ancestors. Come replace today's rulers with tomorrow's spiritual successors. Free ourselves from our wicked oppressors. Follow the light of each and every star. Come and discover who we really are.
We are here today with something new and something different. I am so excited. And I want everyone who's watching to stand up and laugh because we're talking about joy to the word. I am just thrilled to invite our sister friend, my new sister friend, Alycia Cooper. Hi, Alicia.
How you doing, Gwen? So nice to be here.
Well, I want to start out by saying that Alicia's based in Los Angeles, but she's a local DC area girl from Temple Hills, Maryland, and she's funny girl. That's what people call her. That's what she calls herself. So, Alycia, tell us how you got your start as a comic.
Well, that story is way longer than the amount of time I've been allotted, so I'll try to give you a shortened version. I've always loved comedy. My cousin Karen moved in with us because her mom kicked her out for being sassy, and she was 9 years older than me. So I watched everything she watched. So, like, I'm 8 years old, sounding 17, because I'm watching everything Karen's watching. It was a lot of comedy. And that I didn't realize was fostering my love for the art form. And I never saw it as a viable career option. So when I graduated from college, I went to University of Maryland, College Park. I started working at BET in Washington, D.C. And I wanted to be a producer, a television producer. But then I saw Living Single. And then I wanted to become a sitcom creator. So I moved to LA in the late 90s to try to become a sitcom creator. I didn't know what that entailed, and I didn't realize how virtually impossible that is to do. And I worked on another talk show, and a girl that was working on the show too said to me that she booked me this Friday to be one of the comedians. She's doing a show about the next big things: 2 comics, 2 rappers, and 2 uh, I don't know what, singers or something. And I said, well, I can't do your shows this Friday. I have my own shows. And she was like, well, you're already booked. You're the funniest person in the office. I looked around like, how hard is that to be? These people in here ain't funny. So I went on and I did it, and I had some success from that show. I got really good critiques back, and then I started producing during the day, 12-hour days, and at night I would go to the comedy clubs. And I still wasn't trying to do it as a career. I had a career. But then in 2008, everything has switched to reality television. I was doing shows that I didn't think were great images for us as African Americans. And so I just walked away from the whole thing in 2008, and I started going overseas performing for the troops. And I just stuck with it full time after 2008.
Ah, so you are actually not just a stand-up comic. You write all your own material, correct?
Yes,
You're a
correct.
writer, and you're also, do you produce other folks as well?
I haven't produced other folks, but I've written for other folks.
I
You know,
see.
yeah, I've
So
written.
writing is your craft, your words, right?
Yeah. And I got that from my mom. My mom was an unpublished author, but she loved writing. She had her manuscripts, and when I was in elementary school, so I think the writing element came pretty naturally.
So here's the question. I mean, we've got women and children and elders and civilians being slaughtered in the Middle East. We've got mass murders all over the United States with these crazy uh, gun people. We've got white nationalists out to kill black people just because.
Mm.
It's like, how do you eke out, Alicia, comedy in the face of calamity that is our world? What allows you to do this work?
There were 2 things that never suffers, no matter what's going on in the world or even in the United States, is movie theaters and comedy clubs. Because people always need a form of escapism. And I feel like as comedians, we're essential workers because comedy keeps people going. Laughter is a merry medicine. You got to laugh. And comedy is naturally rooted in tragedy. A lot of things that you laugh at are tragic things. Who got beat when they was a kid and stuff like that. We tell the stories and we make it funny, and people want to see us because we help with people's depression, and we help improve people's mental health. And I know that what I'm doing is a service because I've tried to quit a bunch of times, and then it's always somebody who'll come up at the end of a show. I remember I was in Virginia one time, and an African American lady came up, and she said to me, "Thank you so much." She said, "My husband died 2 months ago, and this is the first time I've been out of the house." She said, "My friends dragged me out of the house. I didn't really want to go." She said, "But you made me laugh so much, and I'm so happy that I came." So I realized and we get stories like this all the time as comedians, and it really helps us keep going because we realize that it's somebody in that audience that needs what we're providing.
So laughter is like a salve, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. And you have to have it. You have to have. I was telling somebody the other day, I said, when you look at male comedians, because that's who predominantly been the comedians through the longest throughout time, they're married 50, 60 years, and it's not like these are the best men in the world, but they're able to keep their wives laughing so she don't leave them.
I see. So they look, laugh and don't leave. That could be one of your next skits. Hey. So tell me, what are some of your favorite skits? And then audience, we're gonna be treated to an Alicia skit. But what are some of the things how do you get your material? And what's the thing that stays with you the most?
I think I get mine just through observational situations that happen. Because what I'll do is, if something makes me laugh, I'll stop and I'll write it down. So nowadays, with new technology, you can put it in your notes in your phone. So if it has to make me laugh first, or I can't sell it. Like, I've had people try to give me jokes, and I can't use it because I don't believe, like, it's not from me, and I can't sell it. So that's another reason why I write my own material. But it has to make me laugh first. And it's usually something that I saw, something that I heard, something that I read, and then I'll just expound on it.
So just real quick,
Mhm.
tell us something recently that was like the germ, maybe not finally developed, but the little germ, the thread of a skit for you.
Um, we can talk about politics. Joe Biden. I watch every form of news. I watch the BBC. I watch MSNBC, CNN. I watch Fox. I turn it all on because Al Jazeera. I want to see what other people are talking about. And Fox News, I'm sorry, they're the ones that give me the levity because they are so transparent in what they're doing. So it was a story that came out a couple months ago, and they stayed on it for like a month, where they was like, oh, they found cocaine in the White House. So that's okay that you do that story if that's what happened. They found cocaine in the White House. But to continue doing this story for a month, you have an agenda. So what is it that you're trying to say? Are you trying to say that that's Joe Biden's cocaine? Because Joe don't look hopped up on nothing to me. We might not know whose cocaine it is, but we know whose cocaine it isn't. So let's just move on, Fox News.
I got you. Audience, I'm giving applause on behalf of all our unerased viewers to our favorite funny girl stand-up comic, Alycia Cooper. And we are going to watch Alicia now talking about Doritos. And Alicia, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Gwen.
There's some crazy people out here. And every week we hear more and more crazy stuff. Last week I found out I was a man from the Indian lady who runs the Doritos Corporation. Because she said women do not like to eat Doritos like men. Now, mind y'all, Doritos been out since 1966. So I'm trying to figure out when this lady got this memo. She said women don't like it when the chip crunches too loudly. I'm like, ma'am, we need that chip to crunch loudly so we know that the shit is not stale. I don't want to bite into no limp-ass, quiet-ass chip. That's a health hazard, ma'am. Then she said we don't want the Doritos residue on our fingers because we don't like to lick our fingers. What women has she been polling? I licked the hell out my damn fingers. I'm all the way down to the wrist. Getting every drop of this damn thing. Then she said we don't want to get the chips at the bottom of the bag. That's where all the flavor is. I got my head bent back. I'm pouring the bag down my throat. 2 or 3 chips done fell on my shirt. I done got them. Because I ain't had but 9 chips to begin with. This lady was crazy as hell. I'm like, ma'am, we don't need a quieter chip. What we need is a quieter damn bag. We trying to sneak back into this bag for the 16th damn time at 2 in the morning. We're waking up the house. Mama, you in the chips again? Shut up, fuckface. I bought these damn chips. You mind your damn business.
My name is Elaine McKinney, and the title of my poem is Fall Planting. The poem inspires joy because it speaks of acceptance, and it speaks of the joy that comes from acceptance. It speaks from tears, there can come joy, and also from the strength and work even in the withering places, how we can create beauty and joy. Fall planting. I will catch my tears and make them flowers all over my garden, in every spot of soil, in every place where I can. Pull and yank away the weeds, dead and living, rooted and surface shallow. Cut away the wasted pieces, drop into the withering spaces, find the life deeper in, and with my own brown hands, turn it, prepare it, and soothe it. I will sprinkle my tears on seeds and transplants and bulbs and see my garden push up and break through with colors and scents to nourish nature's creatures, including me, come next fertile spring.
So now it is my pleasure to welcome Tracy Lewis-Giggetts to the stage. Hi.
Hi. I'm so grateful to be here.
Well, we're going to jump right in.
Mhm.
And I tell you, Tracy, there was this movie. I loved rom-coms from way back, and it was like, was it Bing Crosby or something like that? Some white folks dancing in the rain. I want to start our conversation with marvelous imagery. Dancing in the rain with your daughter.
Mhm.
What a moving picture, literally and figuratively, to capture joy. Didn't matter what happened before or after it, was the moment, the most important thing, pure uplifting bliss. Take us back to that glorious moment and please retell that delightful story.
Sure. Um, I enter the conversation about joy and Black joy from the lens of grief. At that particular time, I'd lost a family member to racial violence. It was the summer of 2020, and so we all know what was happening in the world at that time with the murders of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. And I was writing about this stuff, and I was heavy. And so there was this moment where we were in our home when we were living in the Philadelphia area, and it started to pour. There were showers, and I had this sort of makeshift greenhouse that I'd created in our small backyard, and it was going to blow away if we didn't do anything. So my daughter and I, we ran outside and we're trying to save it. We're pulling it down, and then all of a sudden, in that moment, she just starts dancing. And she's dancing in the rain and she's doing her thing. And then something came over me and I started dancing. And it was like this Gen Z versus Gen X battle, but in that moment, there was so much joy, so much presence. But there was a duality too. There was this acute awareness that just outside our fence, there were people who did not care for people who look like me and look like her. And there was this awareness that I had of it, even as I was very present in that moment, dancing, loving on her, her loving on me. And that really was sort of I think the impetus or the beginning of me understanding what makes Black joy. It's this idea that we're holding in tension both our joy in our bodies at the same time, our grief and our rage and all of these other emotions simultaneously. And it was my daughter who taught me that. She told me because in hindsight, I realized she'd been watching me grieve. She'd been watching me kind of hold all of these things. And so her dancing in the middle of the rain, just out of the blue, was almost her way of having that kind of conversation with me about we can do this too, mommy. we can hold this too. And it was a reminder for me. And it kind of set that moment, kind of set the trajectory for everything that I would do after as it relates to Black joy.
And you know, you're saying something very important. Children are sponges.
Mm-hmm.
They really absorb the emotions and the moments that we are evoking, even when we don't know what they are. And the fact that your daughter did that, it was almost like she knew you both needed it at
Yeah.
that particular moment. Now I know that was the trauma you experienced was it 2018 when the
Yes.
yes.
Mhm.
What and I mean going from 2018 to 2020, I mean 2020 was a trauma for all of us
Yeah.
just living. What were the tools
Mhm.
that you use to not only confront the grief but to find the solace to get
Mm.
through?
Yeah, honestly, between that time period, between 2018 and 2020, I don't even know if I had all the tools. I think what happened was in 2019, I was doing a lot of the diversity, equity, and inclusion work on our campus. And we were getting a lot of pushback, and there was a lot of hostility. And there was so between the notion that my family member can walk into a grocery store and not, and not return home because a white man decides that a black woman, black people are going to die that day. The notion of that, then trying to do this reconciliation, this DEI work on campus, and the pushback that we were getting there, my body broke down. Like I spent 6 months in 2019 pretty much in the bed. My body could not hold any more of that. And it took me being in a therapy session and her asking me, well, Tracy, what is joy feel like in your body for me to say, oh, wait a minute, and for me to begin to gather the tools. It was at that point, pretty much like early 2020, right before the pandemic, where I began to identify what the tools are that I would need. And what I would say is the first thing that we all must do is locate joy in our bodies. I'm a very somatic person because I believe that's where it begins, in our brains, in our hearts, in our bodies. And honestly, I began to do the work of locating what joy felt like because I couldn't. If you told me what anger felt like, I could grab the thought that would send me there and boom, I could be angry. If you asked me what grief, I could think of that thing and then I could go. But I could not locate and tell you what joy felt like, even though I know I'd been happy, I'd had, wonderful experiences. So I paid close attention. And then what I figured out was that once I was able to locate joy, then I was able to call it up when I needed it.
Because the powerful title, resistance, resilience, restoration, the stuff that ancestral DNA is made of.
Mhm.
And actually, those themes really do define our journey as a people, mapping our experience from our homeland through the Middle Passage to this country over the centuries, albeit horrific, but also hopeful. So I want you to imagine with us our foremothers, because I always wonder about my great 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 grandmother or the ancestral first person
Mhm.
who created this thread that's now called my family. Um, and what they went through. Give us a picture in your mind of what that may have looked like, when and how,
Mhm.
so that we can imagine it.
Yes. I love this question because I recently located my third great grandmother, my great 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 grandmother, who was an enslaved woman in Wilmington, North Carolina. And I think about her name was Huldy Grady, and I think about her a lot, as you mentioned, and I think about what she knew that I may have forgotten. I think about, I know we talk a lot about generational trauma, epigenetics, and what's passed down in the bloodline. But what I, in my research and in my, you know, blood memory, in my lived experience, what I've come to understand is that it's not just a trauma that was passed down. It was the joy, generational joy, the ability to be resilient, the ability to wield joy as a way to heal. So resistance, resilience, and restoration. The book is divided that way because very clearly we understand joy as resistance. That's why we sing at protests. That's why we dance at we understand it as a defiance, a turning outward. They're saying you can't. This joy I have, the world didn't give it, and the world can't take it away. Like that. Those hymns that we understand that. But what I want us to remember is that Black joy isn't new, and it's the way that we've been able to be resilient. It's the way that we've been able to heal in the midst of. And so when I think about Huldy Grady, and I think about what she gave to James Grady, and what James Grady gave to Viola, and what Viola gave to Viola, and what Viola gave it to Denise, and what Denise gave to Tracy, down that line, I think about I didn't always, but I now think about the resilience, and I think about the courage that was passed down as well. And I am so grateful for that. Our ancestors been knowing, right? Like they've been knowing how to, even when I talk about the body, there are things that we have really big fancy names for, like bilateral stimulation and big, we've named them things, but grandmama was using bilateral stimulation as she rocked herself when at church on Sunday morning, or they rocked themselves at the juke joint on Saturday night, right? They were moving that trauma, those experiences of the week, in and out and around their bodies, right? And so I think the reality is, for me right now, that my ancestors have marched and have sacrificed and handed me access, right? They're saying, okay, you have access, you have more access than we ever had, right? And yet there's still work to do, because now I need you to take that access and take all of these glorious human things like joy, like love, like peace, and turn them and use them for your healing and for the healing of your people. And so for me, when I think about Haldi and all of those people in my line, it really is, and again, and under, like I said before, like an understanding that it wasn't just trauma and fear and migration and all of those things. It was also joy and hope.
I want you to give us a closing salvo to carry us through not only this holiday period when a
Mhm.
lot of people are depressed and, it's like, oh, well, but through what I believe will be a new year of turmoil and trouble. I really do. I'm kind of, but give us a call to action. What
Yeah.
is it that we can take with us? And if nothing else in this conversation sticks,
Yeah.
you had this moment to give us, hey, where do we go from here?
Well, I would say to my family, to my people, to anybody who's watching this, that joy is your birthright. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to do something like, to get it. You don't have to. Joy is yours to have. And in the midst of great chaos, great rage, great sorrow, it is necessary and needed for you to create joy, amplify joy in your life. And you can do that in the smallest and in the biggest ways. And there's something to be said about our great grandmothers who said, "This joy I have, the world didn't give it, and the world can't take it away." Because what it's saying is that it is the undercurrent. You can have joy even when you're not happy, and people often don't understand what I mean by that. But what I mean is that, happiness is often temporary and dependent on the moment. I'm happy because I get to go here. I'm happy because, I got this thing, or whatever. But joy is the undercurrent that stays with you even when things may not be going according to plan, or as you mentioned, the year turns over and there's still war and there's still hurt and there's still pain in the world and pain in our individual lives. Joy can still be present in the midst of that. And your work, your daily healing work, will be to find it, to bring it up to the surface so that you don't go off the deep end, right?
Thank you for that. That in itself is a wonderful gift to carry us through, and it's just a fabulous closing salvo. I want to thank you, Tracy, for sharing your joy and for sharing your insights tonight. And to all of our guests, to Sister Lisa, Elaine, Stephanie, and Alicia, thank you very much for joining us. To my fantastic Unerased Black Women Speak team, all of you, I don't want to name names because it's going to take too long. I might forget someone. Thank you all for everything that you do and for helping to make 2023 a year where we could recognize joy, and even to have this show with Tracy to talk about it. So happy New Year to everyone, and may from our house to yours, may you have a joyous holiday season. We're going to close. Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you.
We're going to close with a poem from Stephanie Lipscomb, who is in an Aretha kind of mood. And with that, I say peace and good night.
So, my name is Stephanie Lipscomb, and the title of my poem is The Power of My Voice. Well, the poem is songs that Aretha Franklin wrote, and they've always inspired joy. In my house growing up, my parents, they would always play Aretha songs. It kind of reminds me of the civil rights movement. I play Aretha a lot myself. I saw Aretha many years ago, many years ago. And she's just been one of my favorite artists. And so I think her songs always motivate and inspire us. So that's why I feel that this poem inspires joy. My time on earth is done. What I leave behind must carry on. The power of my voice is God's gift, but my choice. I chose to inspire, to calm and admire. With the strength of my voice, it became a choice. To demand respect, think, and rock steady were the reasons to inspire my people to aim higher. Knowing a change is going to come, daydreaming and something he could feel, were to calm the spirit so my people could heal. The power of my voice, the one I use by choice, to admire the natural woman, the rose that is still a rose. Women of color to love one another and embrace and admire was my true desire. So now that I'm gone, if you remember one song, I say a little prayer because ain't no way the precious Lord would have allowed me to live with God's gift of my voice that I used by choice to leave behind how I spent my time.